This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is. He's locked and loaded. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
I'm good. Oh, how you feeling, man? I am
good.
Gucci.
What are you at Dolphins camp?
I am at Dolphins camp. I am getting ready for TV. I've got Big O warming me up, and then live TV on network about 15 minutes after we get off. So, yeah, doing a little double action here today.
Okay, all right. There's a lot of double entendre there with that last sentence or two you just used. But I can tell it's not your home because there's a whole bunch of cables behind you. I'm like, the Wolfe home is tight. It always looks good. You know what I mean?
They
not have a whole bunch of cables just rolling down the wall like that. So I knew you were at the Dolphin facility.
Yeah, they stick me in a closet-sized room and just say, "Hey, make TV." And so it's wires here, cameras.
So that's the room everybody has to do a TV hit, no matter what place you work for, or is that just NFL Network's place?
It's just NFL Network's team cam room. Players, like if you see players on Good Morning Football, they will be doing here. So players coming here too, not just me, but it's the NFL Network's owned room and camera room. And so if we have a crew on set, then we'll have a crew camera guy and audio guy shoot us. But otherwise, if it's just in-week stuff like today, they'll say, "Hey, pop in your chair and make TV."
Well, aren't you special? And by the way, they're spying on you right now too, right? Because
absolutely,
that's it.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Hi to everybody in the Dolphins building. Although from what I hear, this show is actually viewed by several in that building. I'm told that yes, I'm told that they track what goes on this show all the time. So anyway, apparently some people in the building get news from this show.
Interesting.
So, yes.
Good. That means your viewers are getting premium content right there, man.
Yes, they are. When it comes to Dolphins content, I don't think this platform has anybody competing with them. To be quite honest, I'm sorry, but I know it sounds cocky on my part, but I think we got enough people on this thing that we give overall everybody the best info on the Dolphins, I think. So let me ask you, as you hear McDaniel talk this week, and it's been obviously hammered away, do you think he really is trying to get Gesicki involved? Because I kind of see him. He's stubborn in his ways at times with this whole 3rd and short, and you keep passing. That was kind of stubborn. Right. You weren't really ready for what the Chargers did. You figured they do some of the stuff the Niners did. You didn't have an answer for that. So there's been a little stubbornness. Gesicki can make plays for anybody, and yet you can't find a way to get him involved. Do you think it's really not about him really trying? It's more that he's convinced that he doesn't fit and can't sell what he needs on offense, that when they see him, they say, "Oh, well, it's obviously a pass. It's not going to be blocking." When they see Smythe, you don't really know what he's going to do. He might block or whatever. So how do you view that whole Gesicki, Mike McDaniel thing?
Mike McDaniel realized.
Whoa. There we go. Hold on a second. You're frozen.
Oh, am I bad?
Now go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do think that McDaniel realizes that Gesicki has an advantageous skill set that could help the offense. The problem is what you mentioned. You have to be intentional when using Gesicki. And when you use Gesicki, at least in this offense, you are handicapping yourself a bit. And so it does handicapping ourselves a little bit and how defenses read us worth what Gesicki brings to the table as a receiver. And so clearly in the game plans recently, the answer has been no. And so the question is, has his answer changed? Or, can they add a 10 or 15 play package for Gesicki more where he's getting the ball more? Sure. Is that something that's going to help the offense be better? I think that's something where McDaniel has to truly answer, because as we've talked about so much on the show, yes, getting Gesicki involved would be big for him and potentially for the offense. But the reality is, if you're having 9 or 10 targets, let's say we have 10 targets, I want 9 of those targets to go to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And so if we're talking about 1 out of 10 targets, I mean, how much is that really impacting things? If me forcing Mike Gesicki on the field for 75% of the plays, is he getting 3 catches for 30 yards? Is that going to make us that much better as an offense? I mean, I don't know the answer, but I think these are probably the questions that he's asking himself, which is probably.
Hell, he might have ran that right route instead of Braylon Sanders.
That's true. That's true, but you got to
think that one play, Gesicki just keeps running, and just like Braylon Sanders, child, run, please, run. You stop to play defense. What the hell is wrong with you, kid? I mean,
I will say that, and I'm not sure if you know, at this point in stage, things will change, but it has seemed like when Gesicki's been on the field, he's been used as a true tight end. He hasn't been used as frequently as last year as a split out or slot receiver. And so it's you know, if you're using him as a slot like Braylon Sanders, then yeah, you know, you ask yourself, maybe Gesicki's better as a slot receiver than Braylon Sanders or River Craycraft. But it seems like they're using him more frequently as a traditional tight end, a guy who cannot block. And so that to me is probably part of the wrestling they have to go about. And the reality of it is, Gesicki, as good as a passing tight end, I don't think that level as a slot receiver, as a true slot receiver. I think you lose a little bit of speed there, a little bit of open field playmaking ability. So as all can predict, this will probably be Gesicki's last year in Miami, last few games in Miami. And so, you know, long term, I don't know if it is something that you need to make Gesicki happy, only if you feel like it's going to help your offense.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I feel bad, man. And again, damn, dude, can you handle things with more class? I mean, him and Tua,
amazing.
If they should have in the rookie symposium every year, they should run a 15-20-minute film of each of Tua and of Gesicki, of their ups and downs and all their, you know, stuff that they've gone through, and then their responses and how they've carried themselves, because they are the 2 prime examples of just outright character and professionalism. I don't think I could ever show that kind of discipline that those guys have had throughout all of that. At one point or another, I probably would have snapped 4 or 5 times.
Absolutely. And they're human, right? I think there was a video that came out of Gesicki and Dawson Knox after the Bills, and you can tell through the emotion, like he's not directly complaining about a situation, but as he's praising Dawson Knox, you can see, like, just from his emotion, just like, hey, I'm happy they paid you. I'm happy they're using you. You know, he used more colorful language than that. And so, you know, this is a guy who's human and feels these things. Not like he's just like, oh, whatever, I'm getting my 11 million. It don't matter.
Yeah, that's not him. That's not him. Yeah.
The ball. He definitely wants the ball, but he's handling it in an excellent way. Like you said, I mean, it's his contract. Like, he believes that it's not going to impact his stock because he's shown what he's shown on field. But the reality is, it is. Like, you're not going to be able to get what you may have got last offseason on a long-term deal, because people are going to be like, hey, you had, 200 yards? You know, why isn't Mike McDaniel using you in the offense? If he's such an offense, like, these are going to be questions that he has to deal with that really have nothing to do with him as a player. And so that could certainly frustrate you and allow you to be a player who's unpleasant to be around. But from all accounts, Mike Gesicki has not chosen that route. And so that's obviously to the benefit of the Dolphins. And ideally for his market, teams will see that and say, hey, we've got an unselfish player here who has some untapped potential, and we're willing to pay him even if the stat line in 2022 didn't, you know, come up to snuff.
Yeah, no, somebody's going to get themselves, because he's going to probably get a little bit less than he would, but he's still going to get paid well. But somebody's going to get themselves a bargain, and they're going to get themselves a true professional and a playmaker overall. He's going to really, it's going to be sad to see him go, and that it didn't work out, because he's a damn good player. Miami will get at least a compensatory pick, you know, in the process. But yeah, it's just so weird how he has just not been able, to flow. All right.
But
let me ask you
just briefly, the reality, how weird it is, because when we talked about this in camp, I was very adamant that this guy is not a fit in this offense. And even, I don't know how much of it was PR speak. Mike McDaniel was like, oh, we're going to make it work. And, other people were like, hey, you make it work with a talent like Mike Gesicki. And maybe they could have been more creative in making it work. But the reality is it was very clear on paper. If you watch how the 49ers and how the Shanahan scheme uses tight ends, that Mike Gesicki was not a fit for this offense. And so it just puzzles me that there wasn't some sort of decision made before this, whether it being trying to trade him, whether it being, in the season and in training camp, even at the deadline. Like, I know the money became a factor at the deadline. But to me, there was an opportunity at some point, even if it was a small day 3 pick, but for the Dolphins to get some sort of value for what has essentially been, a very much underutilized player.
I'm with you there. All right. So I've made my feelings known. I'm not the guy that picks on Josh Boyer. I think he's got a lot of limitations with the talent he has left on this roster. I've watched him try every kind of defense possible, from man-on-man to zone and all kinds of funky lineups and everything. So let me ask you something. What do you do this weekend? What defense do you play against Aaron Rodgers that they can be effective? Because the way I look at it, they have Phillips, Wilkins, Sealer, Holland, and Kohu. That's it. 5 guys that are reliable. The other 6 are not reliable. Chubb has disappeared. X is injured. And the rest of the guys are, how's that? Huh? Go ahead.
You're not going to Dolphins Pro Bowl cornerback?
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. Isn't it weird how, and this is the system. They're usually a year late to put you on, and they're usually a year too late to get you off, whether it's Breeze or Peyton Manning. We've seen guys that at the end of their career, they're still getting that Pro Bowl nod when they don't deserve it. But it's weird because they're usually a year late on getting you on. So it almost like balances out. You know what I mean? Because the first year X kicked ass, he didn't make the Pro Bowl. That's kind of like Javon Hargraves with the Eagles. He's got 10 sacks from the defensive tackle position. He's like, yo, what about me? You know what I mean? Like, I deserve. Next year, Hargrave is in. That's just the way. That's the way this craziness goes, and you kind of hang on. But going back to this whole point, when you really look at it, the other 6 guys are liabilities for one reason or another, whatever you want to explain. So you tell me, what does he have, bro? How do you stop all of this? Because Landon Roberts will never be able to cover in space. He's a run stuffer. That's all he can do. He does a great job of that. But outside of that, he doesn't have. Baker has his limitations. Vernon McKinley has his limitations. Keon Crossan has his limitations. So you tell me, how do you overcome all of that? And what kind of defense do you play that you think will be effective against Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, first of all, I'm not a DC, so I hate to tell people what to do. But when you look at this Dolphins team and how it's constructed, front is the strength of this team, I think. When you talk about some of the guys you mentioned Christian Wilkins and Jalen Phillips. Eventually, maybe Bradley Chubb will join that group. But right now, it's been a Christian Wilkins and Jalen Phillips led front. Zach Sealer's in there as well.
Sealer too, bro. Sealer, got to give him love.
I guess my point is that last year we talked about how great the secondary was and how they needed pass rush, and it's flipped because of injuries and because of some poor play on the back end and some ascension from some of the young guys up front. But for me, I look at this defense and you got to lean on your front, and maybe that means blitzing less. Maybe that means playing more zone coverage, blitzing less, and trusting your guys to be able to get home up front, which I know has been a struggle at times. That's not a great ideal plan, but to me, I look at this team and say they have been getting beat often when they blitz, especially when playing veteran, strong quarterbacks. And if I'm playing Aaron Rodgers this week, as much as he struggled, what he hasn't struggled with is recognizing defenses. And so
they're getting beat playing zone too, bro.
That's what I'm saying. it's no right answer, right? That's what I'm saying. I don't want to be the defensive coordinator because
that's why I feel it's unfair slamming Josh Boyer. That's my problem with the slamming of Josh Boyer, because people make it sound like he's supposed to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. And I just feel like it's unfair to that man. I'm not saying he's great or anything. I'm not telling you he's the greatest defensive coordinator and all that. I'm just saying, dude, there's a lot of shit that he has no control over that I don't know how he can make it any better. I mean, how's he going to make X's growing get better? You know, it's not going to happen, man. And if Chubb is playing bad and you blame Boyer, well, then okay. So then Boyer, okay. So then Sealer, Wilkins, and Phillips playing well. That's all on Boyer too, right? You can't have it both ways. Oh, no, it's Boyer's fault that he's not getting Chubb involved. Well, no, dude, the other guys are getting involved. It's just Chubb hasn't found his way on this defense. He doesn't know when to contain and when to attack. And it's just that's part of being an end. You got to let your instincts take over, and his instincts have not taken over. He's very timid. He doesn't really attack, and it's like he's kind of confused on what he has to do and what his responsibility is. And it's, do I blame Boyer for that? I can't blame Boyer for that. I can't blame Boyer that Landon Roberts gets caught up in coverage, and my God, that poor man doesn't deserve to be in that position. How do you win like that?
So one thing I think McDaniel made clear, and I think it's the first time I've heard him speak as definitively about the defense as he had all season. But he said essentially, we think we've got some things to correct and we expect it to be changed quickly. And so when he said that, to me, it's like there's going to be some, I don't know exactly what it is, but there's going to be some significant change in how they go about things. And to me, the big change could be we've been blitzing a lot. Let's change our philosophy a little bit more and play more, off zone coverage and let our defensive front play. Like I'm guessing, like I said, I don't know for sure, but that would be a significant change. Now, like you said, that could not work, but keeping things the same and just saying, hey, eventually it'll work out or eventually it'll change. That's not a route. Like hope is not a strategy. So yeah.
All right. Well, they basically you should run the table. I know 2 out of 3 could get you in, but you want to run the table, and this is a team you can beat. What's the prediction, Cam? What happens on Sunday?
Yeah, I think they send Dolphins fans home happy for Christmas. I think that the offense is pretty hot. I think there's 27 Dolphins. Give me 20 Packers. I think the defense is a little better, not dominant, but a little bit better. And they hold them off in a game that they're in control with for most of the game. That's sort of what I feel on Sunday. And I will be there.
You got it.
Guys, so, yeah.
All right. And we'll talk to you on Sunday. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe and catch his exceptional work there at the NFL Network. Cam, as always, thank you, my brother. Have a great afternoon and a blessed Christmas morning.
You too. Merry Christmas.
You got it. There you go. Cameron Wolfe, baby. The Wolf Pack has been unleashed.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.